Had any bad intentions. I just wanted to protect my family.
Jawan Plummer shot 2 Detroit police officers. Police say that he fired blindly through a wall, striking the 2 officers, 1 in the face, injuring that officer severely. Now Plummer's charged with the shooting. He says he thought the police were burglars. The prosecutor's office says that Plummer never looked out of the window before shooting and that his actions were reckless. Was the teen just trying to protect his family?
I'm basically the man of the house. I'm only 19 years old, obviously, and you know, my whole life I've been trying to be a good person, and I felt like I was in good intent. You know, I just pray that everybody understands that, you know, I'm a human being, I make mistakes.
Or should Plummer go to jail for a mistake? Let It Rip Weekend starts right now. All right, could get controversial here. Time to let it rip. Joining us this morning, Rick Ector. He's an expert in the ownership and use of guns. He says Jawan Plummer needs to be punished for his actions on that night. Next to Rick Ector, community activist Reverend W.J. Rideout. He says those charges against Plummer way too harsh. Also joining us on the panel, attorney Cliff Woodards. He's an attorney who would argue that Plummer's maybe state of mind needs to, maybe he can defend this case. Let's put it that way. He can defend it. All right. Let's start off right now with, we just heard a little bit of it, but I want to go right now to Jawan Plummer speaking just outside the preliminary examination. Let's take a listen.
We live in a neighborhood where, you know, police don't really patrol our neighborhood as they should. So, you know, I had to do what I had to do to protect my family.
Rick Ector, first question to you. Come on. People all over town are saying you have to feel sorry for this kid. Yeah, he shot out of the window. He's now facing several charges, but do you think he's being overcharged by the prosecutor?
No, he's not being overcharged at all. Lethal force is serious business, and the rules for using lethal force are tight. You can't just shoot someone and blast away just because they walked on your porch. If someone accidentally walked on your porch just the wrong address, just because it's dark, you just can't shoot through a window without even checking to see exactly who you're shooting at. That is reckless. Rick, it could have been fatal.
Did more than that.
We're glad that we're not planning the funeral of 2 law enforcement officers. He should be prosecuted to the maximum.
All right, Reverend, hold on.
What if that was your son?
Hold on, Reverend, hold on.
What if that was your son?
Hold on, Reverend.
Let's keep it real. You wouldn't want your son.
My son had his face shot off? Is that who you're talking about?
I asked you a question. What if it was your son
that had his face shot off by someone who didn't even look out the window to see who looked out?
Hold on,
I'm being very serious.
Hold on, guys.
Let me ask you the question, though.
Let me ask you the question. Everybody's going to get a chance, then we'll let it rip. But Reverend, this is what Kim Worthy said right after the charges were filed. He said that the lives of these officers who are doing their jobs will never be the same, and we must hold people accountable for their actions. Isn't that a true statement?
No, I don't think it's a true statement at all, because she's locking up she's wrongfully incarcerating people who should never go to prison, for one. And if you look at the way Rick just said, let's think about this. If it were your son or her son, would you want him to do 20 years for 4 counts, 15 for 4 other counts? Would you want him to, his life would be destroyed behind an accident? Whatever happened to due process? Whatever happened, excuse me, it's my turn. Whatever happened to people given a fair chance? This is the same woman that took a long time to lock up Mr. Wafer, who shot Renisha McBride through a door. Okay, and now he's on his way out of prison, and you tell me that he deserves 20 years? The devil is a lie.
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Question to you, because you're an attorney.
There was more to it than that.
That's right.
I was at the preliminary exam. Officer Simmons actually testified that when he went to the door, he hit the door, banged on it with the butt of the flashlight and the heel of his hand, and they shined flashlights through the windows. Young Mr. Plummer wasn't really expecting anybody to be on his porch. He called in a burglary attempt across the street. The officer said they knew it came from Plummer's house, so they wanted to check with Mr. Plummer or anybody in there to see what was going on, but they were banging on the door. That was an armor guard steel door. You know how hard it is.
That's right.
So as a result, that young man didn't know who was there. He was afraid that those burglars may be coming back to that house.
Absolutely.
And he only fired one shot.
If you don't know who's at your front door, if you don't know that your house is under a threat, knocking on the door does not constitute an imminent threat to your safety. He did not look. He blindly shot.
Let the attorney speak.
On your porch. And I'm glad you talked about
Judge King actually supported that when he said he did have a valid self-defense claim. It had to go to the jury.
Let me ask you this. Hold on, Rick. Hold on. I'll give you a chance. But let me just further. The last time that, and Reverend Rideout brought it up, the Ted Wafer case, shooting Renisha McBride. That's the same thing. Through a door when someone was banging on the door.
Yeah, but she's dead, Charlie. She's dead.
Hold on.
These
they were
officers are not.
Self-defense in that case. But the jury didn't buy that.
No, that wasn't self-defense.
So what Rick Ector is saying, it wasn't imminent danger, immediate danger.
Thank you, Charlie.
Is this a self-defense case right here, Jawan?
This is a self-defense case because you have to look at the totality of the circumstances. Mr. Plummer's house had been attempted. I don't think they had broken. Yeah, they did.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
But it was a victim of home invasion.
That's right.
It was about to happen again across the street. The young man was scared. He's living there with his mom and his 14-year-old sister, and so he's simply trying to protect them. He only fired that one shot because people unknown to him were banging on the door. That necessarily isn't probably what the police officers should have done. They probably should have said, this is the Detroit police.
Turn your lights on.
It's
Turn your police
absolutely
lights on.
insane that you're trying to justify blasting blindly through your front door with a shotgun just because someone knocked on your front door.
We're not justifying that,
He did not know who he was shooting at. There was no imminent danger.
We're not justifying that, Rick. You misunderstand what we're saying. Wait, Rick, you misunderstand what we're saying. Okay, that's fine. But that's fine. But does he deserve 20 years? No.
He deserves to be held accountable.
He deserves probation. He deserves
probation.
He deserves probation. He deserves mental.
He needs to be prosecuted.
Okay, so let me ask you
probation is outrageous.
What does it mean to you, though?
Well, then let all the free cops go, too.
What does it mean to you, though, that the police chief has told the citizens of Detroit, you have to arm yourselves.
Thank you.
You have to protect your own property.
Great. And that's fine and great, but you still have to follow the law. You cannot blast someone because they're on your
I bet you'll blast somebody if they come knocking on your door and beating on your window.
No, I would not.
You're a gun advocate. Yes, you are. I bet you got your gun today, don't you? I bet you got your gun.
If someone commits a home invasion, yes, I'm going to blast. He was wrong. He was wrong.
Right, because there's more to this. What about the fact that the Detroit police officers are also themselves asking for leniency?
Now, let me say this. Thank you. I have talked personally to the police staff, as well as the chief, as well as commanders. They don't wish that this young man should get 20 years in prison, 15, 10, 5, or any of that. They're concerned about the health and the safety of their officers, too, which I am, too. I'm not saying those officers deserve to get killed or hit or shot or abused. Don't get it twisted.
Every time someone alleges that they were afraid because someone came on their porch, that we can just blast them in their face, it's outrageous.
Okay, whatever you say. Okay, but listen, the fact of the matter is, this is a kid who's never been in trouble. This is a kid who has a clean record. His mom, his dad has a clean record. The family has a clean record. His mom drives him to work, picks him up from work. He's not even a street traveling kid, and all he was doing was trying to protect his mom.
Wait a minute. You can just blast through your door because someone knocked or banged on your door.
Let me suggest something.
None of this was
premeditated. I'm not taking any sides over here. I have a solution here. But hold on. Let me just take a side. No sides right now. If Jawan does get probation, or he does get what you're advocating,
yes,
does that then encourage other people that when they hear knocks on the door, take out their gun and shoot?
You asked me the question.
Even if it's the police, you got people who want to agitate.
Let me answer the question. Can I answer the question, Rick, or you going to overtalk
talking to me?
No, he's talking to me.
You're not a reverend.
Thank you. Now, to answer your question, is not going to be a problem. You know why? If that's the case, what about all these ones that have shot unarmed black people that are getting away? What about these ones? What about Wafer, who's getting ready to get out, and he's only served a year or half a year and a half?
He's in 17 years.
Wait a minute. No. He's up for parole, and he's on the...
Ted Wafer?
You better look it up, okay?
17 years. He's got a hearing in the Supreme Court on an evidentiary...
Okay, let me stick to my point. Let's look at the officer that beat Dent almost to death. He's out.
You're advocating for people to get blasted because they knocked on the wrong door.
Can I finish, Rick?
It's outrageous.
Rick, can I finish? I know you're mad. I hope you don't pull your gun. Can I finish? Thank you. What I'm trying to say is that the bottom line, Charlie, if it were your son, if it was Mario's son, his son, mine, or his, or anybody that's watching, or any prospective juror, no real reasonable juror is going to convict this kid who's a teenager for something that he didn't intentionally and purposely do. Come on, Charlie. You got kids getting out.
Thank you. You are responsible for every round that comes out of your firearm. You cannot just blast someone who's standing on your porch. You cannot do that. Cannot do that. No police officers, no person visiting any home in the city of Detroit.
He wasn't charged with intent.
He wasn't charged with it.
No, he was not.
Thank you. So now,
I agree with you.
No, he was.
No, one of the charges was intentional
discharge of firearms.
Let him finish his statement.
Intentional discharge of firearms.
Finish his statement.
2 counts.
The fact that, and it was intentional, but it wasn't reckless is what they were necessarily saying. That was what I was talking about. But he is not going to get convicted by any jury out there. I don't see that happening at all.
We'll hold it right there. We'll hold it right there. We want to hear your thoughts. Don't forget, we want you guys to use that hashtag #LetItRipWeekend. This is going to continue right after the break. Stay close. All right, welcome back. A very hot topic here, talking about Juwan Plummer, the 19-year-old, facing several charges now for shooting 2 Detroit police officers who were outside of his home when he perhaps thought he was being robbed. Reverend Rideout, you mentioned that you spoke with the chief and spoke with staff about this. The police are asking for leniency. Chief Craig just texted me. He's watching right now. He said he did not talk to you.
I didn't talk to the chief. I talked to the chief staff. That's what I said. Play the tape back.
What did they say?
The chief staff said that they were not wishing to bring charges against this young man. They don't want this young man to be hurt. Or they said it's an unfortunate situation. And of course, my first concern is to people, period. So I don't want officers hurt, then I don't want innocent people going to prison. So it's not about what the chief said or anything. It's about us asking around, how do you feel about this situation?
All right, Cliff, when it comes to the letter of the law, right, I think might be undisputable that it was reckless to shoot out of the window and not be able to see who you were shooting at. But
thank you.
Comments online talk about other cases across the country. The kid in Stanford who got out after 3 months for raping a woman who was unconscious. The affluenza case where a judge said a kid was too rich to understand his own consequences. What's the middle ground here? When we see this kid, certainly many people are sympathetic to his story about being the man of the house. Where's the middle ground in following the law and intent of the person?
The law is going to turn on whether or not he has a valid self-defense claim and if the jury believes him. And what the law says is that Juwan Plummer doesn't have to prove self-defense. The people have to prove that it wasn't. And I think that it was a self-defense case. But more importantly, you were talking about the chief, and I think he's doing a great job in the city. He has really lifted a lot of people, and crime is down in a lot of areas. But I go back to 2014. When he first came here, there was something that he said, and he mentioned that when we look at the good community members who have concealed weapons permits, the likelihood they'll shoot is based on a lack of confidence in this police department. And despite the fact that I think he's a great chief, could this be the chickens coming back home to roost?
Are you saying that Juwan did not have confidence in the police department?
He said that. Hang on. He said that in the interview that you played just before the show. He said the police don't come enough.
They were there.
They were there, but what was in his mind when he called? He remembered the burglars that were on his block prior to. He may be thinking if there were more police patrols in the neighborhood, then there would be less attempted home invasions. And so he took matters in his own hands because these people were.
Matters in his own hands.
But was it self-defense?
It was
these
not
officers were banging on the door.
Shoot through a window because someone's banging. Someone is banging on you. You might get an address to go get somebody, help somebody, and because you knocked on the wrong door, you should be blasted away.
We're not talking about that, Rick.
He needs to be held accountable.
So he needs 20 years.
He needs to be held accountable. Held accountable.
How many years?
For aiming a firearm.
You guys are getting caught up on the length of time somebody going to jail. That ain't even an issue.
Hold on, you guys. Hold on. Let me throw something out there. Reverend, you protest quite a bit. Is it really concerning to anybody that 2 Detroit police officers were shot And we've had 8 officers shot or killed in the last 8
That's right.
months. Shouldn't there be some protests in favor of the police trying to do their jobs?
Of course.
I don't see that here. I don't see the outrage.
Let me get one thing straight. I advocate for the police department, okay? I advocate for officers, and Rick don't know that because he don't come when they're shot and killed. I'm at the hospital.
We're talking about a cop that got shot in his face.
It's my turn. It's my turn, Rick. It's my turn, Rick. It's my turn, Rick. Okay. Now listen, I'm there at the hospital when these officers get shot and get hurt as much as I can. Okay. I support slain officers and their families. That's not the issue here. The issue here is that even the police officers themselves that were wounded are asking for leniency because they knew that this kid didn't point the gun in their face or go after them to kill them. This is not one of them cases,
You do
Rick.
not want people all across the city of Detroit pulling out guns and shooting through every window in every,
I'm not saying that either, Rick.
I agree. Because someone mysteriously appeared on their front porch.
I agree. You're right.
You do not want that to happen.
You're right. I agree.
Trust me. You don't want that to happen.
But Rick, in fairness, though, let me try it. But Rick, in fairness, though, there will be evidence in the case because I believe that Juwan's going to have to take the stand, especially if he's going to talk about self-defense. He's going to have to take the stand. And when he does, this is a very sympathetic kid. He's 19 years old. And he will make a case. Hold on. He will make a case that he was afraid that his house was broken into.
And there's a law that says something about that.
And he thought he was being attacked.
No, he needs to be justified. He needs to be justified. Just because somebody knocked on your door, it could be someone who went to the wrong house, the wrong door. So what? You're afraid. The thing is, his fear was not reasonable and it was not justified.
That's up to a jury, though.
If someone,
and that's for a jury to decide.
So you're the jury. So you're the jury, Rick. So you're the jury.
Yes,
you're the jury. You're the jury and the judge.
How many times
He
should the
needs to be
police
held
announce
accountable.
themselves? I know
I'm
the
glad
officer,
you're not my
excuse
judge.
me, Reverend,
I tell you what,
I know the officer on the record has said that the officers announced themselves. It's Mr. Plummer's story that he did not hear that particular police announcement. How many times should police announce
Officer
themselves
Simmons
before
actually, what he said on the stand yesterday was he knocked and then he said Detroit police. He admitted that it was noisy, there was a dog barking. Juwan may not have heard him at the time.
Right.
And when the officer came to the door, it's a little different when you're doing a knock and announce raid. You're banging on the door, Detroit police at the same time.
Right.
But because they were going there to a witness's house, which is different than a suspected criminal. When you knock on a door, what do you likely do? You knock, you wait for the who's this, and then you get the Detroit police. So I don't necessarily even fault the officers for how they handle that knocking situation.
You don't shoot blindly through a door because someone knocked on your door.
And you shouldn't.
You do not
agree
want
with
that.
you shouldn't.
You do not want that to be the law.
But there are a lot of underlying facts that go into that. That boy was scared. His house had been broken into. He thought burglars were across the street. And then you get people shining flashlights.
Under those circumstances,
when you get people shining flashlights
there are people who've been victimized, and there are people who are afraid. You don't want everyone in the city of Detroit blasting through front doors because somebody knocked.
Let me see if we can broker a deal. There's something called Holmes Youthful Trainee status, okay? Meaning that if Juwan, he's 19 years old, he could take a plea to the charges, but the judge would sentence him whereby he would be on probation for a term of years. If he is off, if he does all of the conditions of probation, his record would be clean.
I agree.
YTA, Holmes Youthful Trainee status.
I agree.
Why would that be a possible resolution of this matter?
That is a possible resolution, but if I was his attorney, I wouldn't point him in that direction.
Now, you take it to a jury? Look at 20 years in prison?
But now listen.
He's not looking at 20 years.
Plus 2 years mandatory?
Even if he got convicted, he would never do 20 years.
That's why they brought 8 charges.
It'd be 2 minimum.
Yeah, he'd do a flat 2 probably. But the thing about it, though, is I would take that case to trial, and I think Victoria Burton Harris is justified in wanting to take it all the way to trial.
Is that because you think a jury in Detroit won't convict him?
I listened to the testimony yesterday, and she's smart in having that young man. You never really want your client talking, but she's smart in having him play to the potential jury pool right now.
You may get Rick Ector on your jury.
You don't want that. No way. I'm going to make sure that
immediately strike him.
I don't know if I want that Rick.
Immediately strike him.
Being reckless with firearms.
We want to hear what you are thinking live on the air. Let It Rip Weekend continues with your thoughts when we come back.
All right, now it's time for you to be a part of the conversation. Twitter is on fire with this conversation. Rick, first one to you. This is from Orlando. He says, please ask the instructor what hood he stays in because he has a lot to say. Meaning, do you think that sometimes the environment that you're in should play into the circumstances of the case?
Bottom line, you have to follow the law. If you feel that your life is in imminent danger, it has to fall within the confines of the law. You cannot shoot people on your front porch through any doors or windows.
Well, if you want to follow the law, that's exactly what this is about. It is what is in his mind at the time.
All right,
you can't blast people off of porches.
We'll have about a minute left. Let me get another one over here. A couple of people are saying, please don't yell at each other. It's distracting. But Ebony says this case is a true reflection of the disconnect between police and the community in the city of Detroit. You agree, Reverend Rideout?
Exactly. That's my point. You know, I think that's what we're here to do, to bridge the gap and bring police and community together. But when there's misunderstanding, we need to correct the misunderstanding. Don't just throw everybody in jail, I'm saying. You know, Kim Worthy needs to check that out.
I think Chief Craig has done a lot to bridge the gap between the police and the community.
Yeah, he's doing good.
Way more than anybody has done in decades.
Chief Craig is doing a marvelous job.
I don't think there's really a disconnect anymore. I don't.
Okay, very quickly, we have a tweet from Ebony. She says, this case is a true reflection of the disconnect between police and the community in the city of Detroit.
We just said
we just read that one.
Yeah,
we just said that one. We like that one. A drill sergeant says this man needs to be punished. Yes, but not 20 years in prison.
I don't think he needs to be punished.
He needs to be held accountable.
At all?
No, I don't.
Not at all.
Because what was in his mind at the time, and he was scared. He said that.
I'm looking for
it needs to be reasonable. We can't just blast people for merely walking onto a porch.
How much time do you need to
How much time should he get?
How much time should he get?
He shouldn't get a pat on the wrist. Let's let a judge handle it.
This edition of Let It Rip Weekend.